I'm here with Jean-Luc and Michel from Dontnod, and we are going to be talking about Life is Strange, which is obviously a game that is out in the wild now. We've had the retail edition, so it's the episodic part of the game is done. The disc is out there in people's hands, and people have been playing it and absolutely loving it. It was one of our games of the year last year, and it's drawn plaudits from across the world. So my first question is, how has that success and the reception that you've received from the game kind of changed you as developers and as a studio?
Thank you. Yes, we were quite amazed by the reception and the success of the game, and actually we are here also today because we've been nominated for 5 BAFTAs. So tonight, which is a tremendous honor to be nominated among all those awesome games that are present tonight. And when we started to work on the game, we were really not sure at all that there would be any success, because we didn't really thought about marketing or audience. We just really wanted to create a game we loved. And when we released episode 1, there was a good reception, good press about the game. And then with each episode, it started to grow more and more and to gain some traction with the community, more and more players enjoying the game, talking about the game, and the word of mouth just build a really strong community. And I think it's just awesome for us to see this success. And your question was about what did it change for us? I don't know. I think on my part, it's so important. When you're making games, you're also making games for players to enjoy it. So seeing that we reach people, that they love the game, it make us, I think, wants to continue to do games and to really try to improve ourselves, to do even better on a lot of points, to try to reach again other players and tell other really great stories.
Yes, for me, the most notable stuff about Life is Strange is, we received a lot of message at Dontnod or even on our personal Facebook of people who are touched by the game, who love the game, and it's wonderful that to feel that you have touched people with someone, with something we created, with something we love. When we began to work on the game, it was like, okay, we need to do a video game that can change our lives, that a video game that we loved. And when we released it, we feel so much the community growing up. So okay, we've made something important for people, and that means a lot for us.
Okay, do you feel like part of the game's success and the reason why it resonated so strongly with people was because of your approach as a studio to writing kind of genuine, well-rounded female characters, which is, looking back at Remember Me before Life is Strange, I remember at the time there was some press around that game because of the way that you decided to approach character and having the female lead character. And I think the question is, do you think that writing for different audiences has helped kind of carve out your own place in the industry?
Not really, I think, because when we wrote Life is Strange, when we imagined the story, when I wrote it on my own, we never say that, okay, we are going to make a game from this kind of audience, for this kind of person, a girl game or a boy game, stuff like that. No, we wrote and we created what felt for us good for what we have to do. The only stuff Dontnod told us when they gave us the power to make Life is Strange was to use the rewind we used on Remember Me, the mechanic of rewind. So it was the only condition for making Life is Strange. So we imagine we could have imagined a lot of stories, but it was this one we wanted to talk. So we didn't think about the audience or the. It was just about us, you know.
Okay, so okay, you've said no to that question, not really, but I'm going to kind of pick at it slightly because I feel like you make atypical games. You make interesting games and games that kind of break the mold, at least in terms of kind of popular mainstream titles. Was that part of your thinking at all? Not necessarily writing something for a specific audience, but writing something that had its own unique identity, as opposed to something that conformed to kind of the multitude of stereotypes out there that we see all the time.
Yeah, definitely. I think that when you're working on a project, on a game, on a movie, on anything for 2 years or more, I know that I think we couldn't work on it if we were not passionate about it. And I think that making something not completely different, at least, but somehow different, that we have the feeling we didn't see it before, that feels important for us, it is necessary. Or it would be too hard to go work for those 2 years every day on something you would just say, okay, I've seen that already a lot of time. So for sure, the uniqueness, trying at least to be somehow unique or different, is important. It's something that we really would like to do at Dontnod and ourselves as creators, because you have to be passionate about your work if you want to make something good out of it. And you're right that in the end, maybe some of our games are a bit different, like to say, are reaching different kind of players. And I would say also that also because of your sensitivity as a writer, the sensitivity of Christian Devine, the American writer who worked with us on writing the dialogues. I think that all those elements make that we were still wanting, and even if it was not conscious, making something different. And I think that we all have some, wouldn't say political, but some social consciousness. So we're still trying to be really respectful when writing our characters, when making the game, to think about society, how it is now, and also to talk about a broad, different sort of subject of themes, to try to not use again the same themes and stories you might have seen before, and try to be more in line with our time or with society.
Okay, going back to a point that you made earlier, you said that when you were first coming up with the ideas for Life is Strange, that one of the things that Dontnod insisted on was that you utilised the time mechanic. Now, can you maybe shed some light on how that design decision enforced? It turned out to be a happy thing, but how did that affect your decisions as a writer, and how did that shape the story? Because one of the things that one of my colleagues who reviewed the game over the course of the year said is that with those kind of time bending mechanics, it's almost like when you're playing those adventure games, sometimes you do cheat and you go back and you play for, like, you almost made that part of the game. How did that change the narrative of the game? Because it was a natural fit for the adventure genre, but that must have been quite a challenge from your perspective as a writer, making that work and feel like a natural part of the story.
So as I told you, the beginning of Life is Strange was using the rewind. So it was the first stone that shaped all of the castle. So when they said, okay, use the rewind, so when you write or when you imagine the stories, okay, it's going to be a story about time and about time travel. So the gameplay and the narration was relatively close from the beginning. So I don't write the story in my office and okay, guys, it will be the game, and put some game design on it and be good. You know, say no. We were game designer and writer. We are all together. Say okay, let's from a nice stuff about Life is Strange, we imagine a lot of power. You know, you can stop time. Okay, so imagine a story with a character that can stop. Okay, it doesn't work because it's not nice to play, and we already saw the time stopping in another video games. Okay, so imagine you can go back in time, but in a lot of moments. So imagine we thought about a lot of iteration. One of the version of early Life is Strange idea was to play the main day, but with 3 point of view. Three people. You have horrible stuff that happen at the end of the day, and you have to play it with 3 different characters. So okay, no, it was not a really good idea. So we changed it, and at the end we arrived with this idea of going back in time, but only in 10 or 15 seconds, and that was what shaped all the narration, and I wrote the story with this idea. So
yeah, and like you said, the rewind power is a bit like what you used to do in some of game when you just do quick save, quick load. But we really wanted to put this is an out game mechanics that some players know, and Wright knows what was interesting with Life is Strange is to put that as an in-game mechanics that is completely linked to the character and to the story, and make it the main gameplay tool, but also the main storytelling device of the game. And there was a lot of challenge on doing that, like Jean-Luc said, a lot of back and forth on the design, trying to find the good way to use this kind of element. But we thought that it was, when we started to knowing that we would go back in time, we thought that it made sense to make a game about choice and consequences, because it's really interesting to question this idea of, should I try to fix everything? Should I try to, each time I have an outcome that I don't like, I go back in time and I try to fix it to have a perfect life, and which is at the end one of the main theme of the game that you cannot have, and sometimes you just need to accept the sacrifice, to accept that not everything will be completely perfect, and move on with your life if you want to grow up. So we really had this. It was interesting because we had this, I think, this good blend between the gameplay, the storytelling, and the message of the game.
You know, when you play a video game, most of time you play a character that have a lot of skill. You know, he can shoot, he can, or he has magic. He have magic power. But at the beginning of the game, you play a magician, and in Life is Strange, you play a character, and like the player, Max was given this power. So you learn with Max to use this power. So the story evolve with the power is in the art of the gameplay and in the art of the story. So that was what I told you, that it was linked, the game design and the narration was linked from the beginning of Life is Strange.
Okay, one of the things that has resonated really strongly with the game is the soundtrack. Can you tell us a little bit about the decisions that went into kind of choosing the songs that played such an important part?
Music is something really important in any experience, and mostly in video games. It's something that really brings the scene together, and music can be used as another storytelling device, because music can tell you more about a character, about a scene, about a moment. And we have 2 kind of different music in the game. We have the soundtrack, which was made especially for the game by composer Jonathan Morali, which is a French singer and musician from a French band Sin Matter. And we have also a lot of licensed tracks that we did buy for the game, which are known songs that we used to illustrate certain moments and also to link to the personality of characters. For example, Chloe is not listening to the same kind of music than Max, and we can use those songs in the game to reflect the personality of the characters. And for choosing the soundtrack, it has been a long work in progress with both Raoul, the co-game director, Sébastien Gaillard, our audio director, and myself. And we were working on finding the music that works for. We had in mind the big scenes where we wanted to use those licensed tracks. So we were listening to a lot of artists, finding music that would work with the characters, with the setting. Also the lyrics is of course really important, because you don't want to have a music that just because you just like it, and if the lyrics doesn't work or tell something with the scene, it won't work. And one of the biggest challenge also was to find the good music for the editing, because when you are making a sequence with a song, you need to think about how the pictures and the game will work over the music. So you need sometimes to have rhythm, some beats in the song that works with the narrative beats of your scene. So it was a lot of work. We had at a point more than 150 songs that we saw could work for each of the scenes, and then it's starting to reduce the list, to look for also for the pricing, working with an agent to have the rights to get the song to because sometimes some artist doesn't want to have one of their song in a video game. We had sometimes to just write directly to them to explain that what kind of game it was, so we could push them to know that their song would be used in a meaningful way. And but in the end, we are extremely happy about the music we have in the game, about the artist we have in the game, because I think it's a great soundtrack and it's a good part of the game.
Okay, so you're in town, BAFTAs tonight. You're up for a few awards, so congratulations for that. And we'll keep our fingers crossed. It's going to be a good evening for you. But looking ahead, you've as a studio, there's a vampire game in the works, but a lot of people are obviously gonna want me to ask the question: are there any? Is there a desire within the studio to look at Life is Strange and possibly continue the story or tell a new story in that world?
There is a desire. We loved working on Life is Strange, and we'll have to see what happens next. But it's really too early to talk about it. And about Vampire, it's a game that's in development with another publisher, and it's a brand other team. It's another team at Dontnod who's working on it. We are not directly we are not involved in the project, but it's what's in the work at Dontnod with this other team right now.
Okay, well, thanks for all your time and good luck tonight.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.